Don't you know that you're a grown-up? No games, no punts. Not allowed if you're a grown-up.
Hey, hello again. Welcome back to Gen X Grown Up. I'm John, and I'm a Gen X Grown Up. Thank you for checking out our video. It is a gorgeous day here in North Florida. Good day to go out, get a little exercise, and get a little bit off my chest in this walk and talk. The most obvious elephant in the room for any sci-fi fan has been the recent premiere of Star Trek Discovery. Premiered on CBS proper, of course, and they moved it over to their pay-for-watch all-access deal. I'm not going to talk about distribution. What I want to talk about is the show itself. And more importantly, it's not just Discovery I want to talk about. That would be its own discussion normally. But the serendipity, or I'm sure intentional scheduling, of Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, that premiered just a little bit before Discovery, has really made, at least for me, some real kind of cognitive dissonance. To be more to the point, I guess what I mean to say is, The Orville feels more like TV Star Trek. You know, your The Next Generation, your Voyager, your Deep Space Nine, while Discovery feels more like cinematic Star Trek. If anyone had asked me to peer into my crystal nerd ball ahead of the launch of these two shows and say, John, you know, in a month, what are you going to say about these two shows? I would have predicted that I would have said, well, Star Trek Discovery is great Star Trek. It's wonderful to have it back on TV. It feels like Star Trek again. And I would have said, The Orville. Yeah, it's slapstick, it's Seth MacFarlane, it's Family Guy in space. But that's not the way I feel. Both of these shows are suffering from a bit of an identity crisis. Star Trek Discovery, on one hand, it launched with this big two-hour premiere that really has nothing to do with the series proper, except for to be like this 2-hour prequel movie in advance of what the story is going to be for Discovery. The third episode of Discovery, to me, feels like the actual pilot. The Orville, on the other hand, actually has a different sort of identity crisis. It can't decide if it wants to be serious science fiction or it wants to be dick jokes. And I'm noticing as we get deeper and deeper into the season, Orville is kind of paring back on the slapstick and really veering more toward like the serious morality plays, while Discovery, on the other hand, is kind of tearing away all the rules of what you expect out of Star Trek. Everybody gets along. There's kind of an egalitarian society. Instead, it's all-out war, and even convicted felons and traitors can become part of the food chain back in Starfleet. So what does all of this mean for fans of science fiction in general and fans of Star Trek in particular? Despite the, a year or so delay for Discovery, we knew Discovery was coming. We were all looking forward to it. Will it deliver on what we were expecting? I argue that remains to be seen. And then we have The Orville, which I know I, for one, expected to be just another throwaway series that Fox would run for 6 or 7 episodes before they threw it into the purgatory back vault of shows with a good idea that had no support. I would argue that we kind of got a twofer here. You know, if you don't like what The Orville's doing, well, you've got this grittier, kind of darker Star Trek that's on over on CBS. If you don't like what Discovery's doing because it's too different from Star Trek, well, Jesus, The Orville is doing exactly what Star Trek did the last time it was on TV. If you can forgive some of the kind of weird, out-of-place, raunchy humor that admittedly is decreasing as we move on through the season, then you're going to get what you used to get with Star Trek and The Orville. Or if you're not stuck in your rut with Star Trek and willing to kind of expand your mind, accept that people in space might not always adhere to the kind of utopia that Star Trek set out, well, there's another flavor waiting for you over on CBS. Finally, what about the future of these two shows? You know, in the current landscape, you've got to be really careful not to fall in love with something because the networks are ruthless when it comes to just cutting the throat of a series, no matter how rabid the fan base is. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Fox. So let's talk about Fox first. We all know they are notorious for just killing the viewership of a series by bouncing it from time slot to time slot, from day to day, without giving viewers a chance to find it. My greater concern about the future of The Orville is less about it being able to kind of find an even keel for how it wants to tell stories and determine a consistent tone, which I'm sure it will do, but more about the fact that this little show is subject to the whims of Fox scheduling executives. That guy should wear a black hood and carry an axe. And then what about Discovery over on CBS All Access? There's a huge debate, and I could talk forever about the pros and cons of moving Discovery to behind a paywall. That's not the point. but that definitely is going to have an impact on the success or kind of the ubiquity of Discovery as a series. In a very real way, not only is the plot line of Discovery kind of breaking that egalitarian society ideal that Star Trek has, but the distribution happening outside the show is also messing with that same paradigm. It used to be that Star Trek was free and open to everyone, and now, well, you know it's out there, but if you don't kind of like pay to get in and see it, or you know somebody who does, or you know how to use BitTorrent, it's just not universally available. And that's going to impact its popularity and, in fact, its legacy in terms of the entire Star Trek universe. I'm enjoying them both, admittedly, for very different reasons than why I thought I would enjoy them before the premieres came out. So in conclusion, if you're a sci-fi fan and you are denying yourself either of these shows for any reason, I think if you can set aside your preconceived notions of what you're expecting to see, you might come away pleasantly surprised. Well, my pretty sunny day has started to turn south here. It is Florida, and so it's gonna rain every afternoon. It's starting to come down a bit, so we're gonna let you go right there. Thanks so much for watching. Please remember to click that subscribe button down below and enable notifications so you'll always know when there's new content posted to GenXGrownUp. And we want to know what you think. What are your current opinions of the Orville or Discovery or both, or how they kind of fit into your science fiction universe? Use the comments down below and tell us. Also, please give us a thumbs up to show you liked it, and be sure, most of all, share this video wherever it is online that you hang out. Thanks so much. I will see you next time.
Don't you know that you're a grown up? No